Yes, it is Friday the 13th. Oddly, one of my favorite days. But even more so, I especially love Friday the 13th on days when Donald Trump loses, because I can just see him fuming in the White House in his boxers, whining like a little baby. And I'm going to show you the breaking story of what he just lost again. Beaten again, here on the eve and the precipice of his big military parade for his birthday. That story's coming up real quick, but let's bear in mind what Donald Trump has been trying to do since basically he got into office again, and yet the attitude that comes along with anything other than we just let him do whatever he wants with all of his executive orders, which is absurd. Check this out before I show you this breaking story.
I'm Matt Gelka in Washington, where an appeal to the Supreme Court from the Trump administration could have far-reaching effects on how much power lower courts have. The Trump White House thinks lower courts have too much national power. After multiple lower court rulings from around the country have halted various parts of the Trump agenda, they're now asking the Supreme Court to weigh in.
You cannot have a low-level district court judge filing an injunction to usurp the executive authority of the President of the United States. That is completely absurd.
Actually, Caroline, it's not absurd. It's called three branches of government, co-equal branches of government. It's not absurd. But there's more. Wait. This.
The request comes from an appeal to a nationwide ruling blocking Trump's executive order ending birthright citizenship.
We've seen federal judges out of control. You've got some rogue judges that are literally trying to play the role of President of the United States.
These judges are not rogue. They're actually enforcing the law and the Constitution.
Acting Solicitor General Sarah Harris wrote to the court there had been 15 national injunctions in the month of February alone, compared to 14 national injunctions in the first 3 years of the Biden administration.
Well, yeah, it's no shock that you've had that many orders against you in such a short period of time, because Joe Biden wasn't busy trying to use executive orders to be a dictator like Donald Trump is. That's why. And yet, we still have to do this.
It's very clear that there are judicial activists throughout our judicial branch who are trying to block this president's executive authority. We are going to fight back.
We are defending the independence of the American judiciary against Donald Trump. Look, Donald Trump is losing in court on a daily basis.
Circuit and district and federal judges have a place. It's called checks and balances. And in this breaking story, what just happened to Donald Trump again on one of his executive orders regarding voting laws that have to be passed, which go state by state, by the way, but in general have federal voting laws, he loses again. Check out this story. Breaking news. Federal judge blocks Trump executive order that requires proof of U.S. citizenship to vote and limits mail-in ballots. A federal judge in Massachusetts on Friday blocked part of President Donald Trump's executive order that seeks to revamp how elections are run in the United States. Judge Denise Casper issued a preliminary injunction halting requirements to show written proof of citizenship when registering to vote in elections and Trump's effort to prohibit states from counting mail-in ballots that arrive after Election Day. The mail-in ballot ruling applies only in states that filed the lawsuit. Non-citizens are already prohibited from voting in federal elections, but opponents of the executive order argue that requiring the documentary proof of citizenship will deter people from registering. Casper, who was appointed by former President Barack Obama, cited examples such as college students or immigrants who don't have access to a birth certificate or passport. The executive order, Casper wrote, in quotes, would burden the states with significant efforts and substantial costs to revamp voter registration procedures and would impede the registration of eligible voters, many of whom lack ready access to documentary evidence of citizenship, for example, U.S. passport and other forms of identification that reflect citizenship. The lawsuit is one of several that challenge Trump's election executive order. It was brought by California, Nevada, Massachusetts, Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Wisconsin. A federal judge in Washington, D.C. previously ruled against the provision forcing registrants from providing documents proving their citizenship. Aw. Are you sad, Daddy Donnie? Is Friday the 13th got a mask on it? Is Jason coming for you? Yeah, that's what happens when you try to usurp power and think that the United States of America is your company or your organization's boardroom. It isn't. This is when the idea of a businessman running America is ignorant, because the government does not function like a private business. And you keep trying to decide that as long as you write an executive order because you thought about something you want, it just insta happens in America. We don't function like that, clown lips, orange clown lips, actually, I should say. We have 3 branches of government. And despite the fact that you have one of them commandeered, the House and the Senate, we and the judicial branch are going to continue to fight back. Period, full stop. You guys have a good weekend and have a terrific No Kings protest Saturday, June 14th. See you soon.